And welcome back to the show. Well, my next guest has more than 30 years of experience in bridging gaps between businesses and persons with disabilities. During her time here, she's met with provincial government, MUN, municipalities, as well as the business sector to help increase disability confidence. Now, Susan Scott Parker is the CEO of Business Disability International, and she joins me now in studio. Welcome to have you here, or I should say, it's great to have you here. Welcome.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
So before we go any further, just tell us, what is Business Disability International?
It's a consortium of companies coming together to say we need to promote consistent best practice worldwide in terms of how global business welcomes disabled customers, attracts talent, and of course adapts so that their own people can be as productive and as healthy as possible.
So you've been here for pretty well this full week here.
Absolutely.
You've met with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us, what is your main role within this company, and what do you do?
I'm the chief exec, the founder. I'm making it up as I go. You know, we're looking for new ways in which to ensure that business plays its part in terms of learning a new approach, understanding, to approach the question of how you enable people with disabilities to play their rightful part in the business and in the societies in which they operate. So it's still in the very early stages, but we're building on 20 years of work in the United Kingdom, where I founded a national business disability network. So we know a fair bit about how you bring business leaders and people with disabilities together to joint problem solve, overcome the stereotypes on both sides of the table, and find a fresh approach.
Do you find there's a big difference depending on where you are in the world, when you talk about the UK and then coming here to Canada and then even here to St. John's, or is there a common theme?
I think there are many common themes. Wherever a business is, they care about talent, about customers, about the productivity of their people, about the extent to which they get employee engagement behind the operation. And of course, some of the issues that get in the way when they're trying to deliver best practice for people with disabilities are very much common. Technology that should be liberating people isn't. The built environment that sets up unnecessary barriers. The assumptions that we make about each other on the basis of labels are very much shared in whatever country we operate in. So we've just produced a video which we've been showing across St. John's this week, called Labels Are So Old Brain, making assumptions about people on the basis of labels. That's where every country I've ever been to starts. That's what we have to tackle.
Has there been much progress in regard to that when you talk of labels and stereotypes, or is there still so much more movement to go to get to where you would like to see it?
Well, we're making progress. 166 countries have signed the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. A significant shift, moving away from an old brain way of looking at things, which says sort of what's wrong with you, your medical diagnosis, to saying, well, everyone has a right to equal treatment, to, the right to a home life, the right not to experience discrimination. And so that's a worldwide shift, and people's expectations are changing. Customers are expecting to be treated properly. Why do I have to use a contact center when I'm 70 and I have a hearing impairment and I can't hear what they're saying? Mm-hmm. Why do you insist I shop online when your website's inaccessible?
Right.
And so I think the shift is enormous, but it's going to take a while.
You talked to, what we just mentioned off the top of the show, Memorial University, the provincial government, municipalities, the business sector. What was, I guess, the main goal in terms of the messaging? I assume it included everything that we have just discussed.
Also, though, we're looking at this way forward strategy that your government has recently launched, and we see some real opportunities in there for the province to make sure that when you are becoming more efficient, they talk about the lean, when you're looking at investing in infrastructure, and when you're looking to build the tourist industry. Well, you don't want an infrastructure that stops tourists from coming through and spending their money. Why are cruise ships so popular? Rich American tourists with disabilities like to be able to get on, get around, and spend their money. And so when they come here, wouldn't it be nifty if they could get on the accessible taxis, which I know you've got now, get into all your restaurants, get into the shops, spend their money. Mm-hmm. And so linking a strategy that says we want to be barrier-free for people with disabilities so they can work in the tourist industry, work as you're building your infrastructure, as well as making sure that the buildings that result actually work for everybody. You don't want to retrofit your entire infrastructure after all that investment. So I think what we've been doing all week is exploring how we can connect the desire disabled people in Newfoundland have to be part of all this with the government's aspirations to really promote economic growth and create a new sense of innovation and vibrancy in NL. Have I got that right? NL.
Yes, that's right. That is
Yeah.
right. From what you have seen this week, and from the people that you've spoke with, where do we stand in regards to being accessible? What are your thoughts on that?
You can do better. I'm afraid so. I've had the privilege of talking to many disabled people since I got here. Curb cuts would be cool, just a tiny thing, but a really important thing, because of course then everything else you do in terms of making buildings accessible doesn't work. There's a lot to be done, but I'm feeling a real sense of energy and a determination to tackle it. And if you're talking directly to people with disabilities, you'll find the shortcuts that make it easier and much cheaper.
To the people that you've talked to throughout our community, whether it's been provincial, municipal government, even at MUN, do you sense, you just talked about there's a lot of energy in working towards this. What did you think about the feedback that you had received, even the questions that were asked?
Well, the questions show a refreshing willingness to be honest, open, address the hurdles was the language I was confronting today. Openly saying we've got to do something about this and looking for solutions. You can't get solutions if you don't start talking like that. So it's very promising.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining me here this evening, and of course opening up this conversation, and hopefully it will continue after this. Thank you very much.
I'm sure it will. Thank you very much.
All right. We are going to take a very short break, but we'll be right back. Still more to come here tonight on Out of the Fog.